One thing Dirk knew is this is going to be a really good transition because a lot of really good information and a lot of stuff you're going to hear from me is going to reiterify exactly what David just talked about. Congratulations to those guys as well. I had a chance to meet him last night, and I said, how long are you with your guys? Essentially got them some tryouts and for a week, and they go on and win a championship, and I thought it was pretty cool just to see the celebration at the end of the championship with a bunch of guys that I'm sure knew each other a little bit but haven't spent a ton of time together. So, again, pretty cool stuff. So, if I'm a little more low-key this morning, there's a reason for that. I have a good story to bring home from Toronto. Last night about midnight or so, wasn't feeling great. Kind of, I think, pride myself in being a guy that can handle pain and stuff. I'm like, man, something's not right here, lower abdomen stuff. End up going to the ER, right? So I haven't slept yet. So I'm a little bit, try to get the energy there, and thankfully I enjoy, there's a kidney stone in there I got to work through. So fun stuff, right? So thankfully I really enjoy talking hitting. So my thing that I get to finish with, which I know will get me through, is the hitting piece of the puzzle, and I've got a lot of good stuff to go through. So again, I got some good drugs to not feel quite as much pain and get a chance to stand in front of you guys and talk some hitting stuff. So again, what I want to start with here is just a couple quick things. You've heard some good stuff this weekend. And if you heard me speak yesterday during the program talk, I talked about how, in my opinion, you really need to focus at a certain time of the year when there's not a result that's happening to help your guys get better as far as the mechanic stuff, all the stuff that David was talking about. And again, I think a lot of times what you guys have the ability to do is, whether it's club ball or what have you, is you have off-season time to really truly break down the swing and help your guys understand what they need to do properly. And again, nothing's going to be earth-shattering here, a lot of reiteration or what you just heard, but maybe presented slightly differently. Okay, and I've got some drills as well at the end, and so I don't want to talk too much. I want to get to all that stuff. But a couple things I want to make sure that I'm very clear on. You'll hear me say this a few times this morning. A lot of the stuff that we do, that I do when I teach hitting, is maybe a slight over-exaggeration of the true actual mechanics, all right? And I think the younger group that you have, the younger athlete, even versus that older athlete, the more you need to over-exaggerate, okay? Because all the things that are out there nowadays, the launch angle terms, all these things that are going on, if they really try to do what happens in the swing and match the plane of the pitch and all those things, we all know as coaches how the swing works. But when you try telling a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, I even think for me, a 17, 18-year-old, they really struggle to be able to achieve that benefit. You usually see them work in the opposite direction and bad angles, and they're too much in and out of the zone. So again, I want to be very clear that some of the stuff we talk about, and I tell our players this, it's not exactly what happens in the swing, but I want to exaggerate a little bit more. And when you got a guy coming at you a little bit, you're gonna be centered a little bit, and I'll talk more about that. So again, for me, there's a lot of posture and movements that we talk about in the swing. That's what I'm really going to focus on in this off-season time. Okay, so old school. This is a great picture. I think David referenced a Babe Ruth drill, but there's a lot more movement going on in swings back in the old days, the old school guys. Okay, the term rotational and linear. I know you guys have all heard those terms before. What I would challenge you is to say that, and I had to learn this when I was a young hitting coach, just starting at the college level. I was very, very linear related as far as teaching goes, and I still think that I am to a great extent. But again, you're going to have some guys that are really able to rotate really, really well. All right, a great example in my mind is Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds, if you want to say he was pretty rotational, but he did a great job of staying centered, and I don't know if there's ever been a better hitter at having the ability to stay inside of a baseball and continue his hand path forward, right? So there's a lot of linear movements within it. So I think there's a little bit of both. And then for me, again, as far as the approach type stuff, 41 years old, I'm still playing the game of baseball, and I talked to a few guys yesterday about this. I think what starts to happen as coaches, and I would really challenge you to tell your players and teach your players, especially the older guys in your program, to do a good job of teaching, all right? And I'm getting dry mouth already. This is going to be an interesting morning. But I really would challenge you to have your older guys do a good job of teaching within your program, because what starts to happen as they're teaching is they're learning, okay? And again, for me, I'm 41 years old. I always say, if I knew then, what I know now. The game gets a lot easier. We can start to figure things out as we're teaching someone else. Okay, so again, a lot of stuff to get through. Keep moving forward here. Teachable moments. again, already touched on this. Don't teach what actually happens at times mechanically, but exaggerate those movements to overcompensate. And trying to keep it simple, I think that's a big one for me. Ted Williams, here on your screen. Again, these are, David talked about absolutes. I have some absolutes as well. But my challenge is always for our coaches and for myself that we want to make individuals individual. We want them to have their swing. We want them to have some things that they do that are different than other people, because we don't want to try to change what they're doing, especially as they get older, too drastically. But there are some absolutes that they have to do, and I'm going to get into this a little bit more as we go here. So again, good hitting position. For me, that's when your foot hits the ground, okay? David called it the launch position. But again, when your foot hits the ground and you work into your legs, there's some things that I want to happen. But again, I don't want to get real in depth, because this is where I really feel that they can have some individualization in their swing. But they got to hit the ground in a certain spot. Simple to me is always better. We'll talk about weight shift, shoulder tilt. I think the thing that you're starting to hear more and more in hitting these days is hitting coaches are talking about getting forward. All right, the old term of you got to go back before you go forward. It's amazing now if you watch videos. If you can get the camera on me, it's amazing when you watch a lot of videos now, guys. They're just getting forward, and you even saw some of the younger guys up here on stage. Is you see a little bit of backward movement. We don't take it out of our guys if that's a comfort factor, but there's some of our guys, especially the leg lift guys, they go back too much and they get stuck. All right, and the hardest thing to do in hitting, in my opinion, is to get on the ground consistently. Because once you're on the ground, you know your swing. Your swing's going to work. But you get on the ground inconsistently, you get stuck on the backside and some of those kind of things, and it's a struggle. So again, I think what started to help some hitters is they think about moving forward when their leg lifts or when they stride, and then they don't get stuck on their backside so much. So for me, a really easy one, we want to try to stay stacked is a term I use a lot. I want my shoulders over my hips when my foot hits the ground. And again, I want to have a good posture, so I have a slight downhill action so that when I start my swing, it's easier to get into my swing versus if I start my swing kind of stuck on my backside, my hips are outside of my shoulders, and I'm going to start kind of uphill a little bit too early. So those are some things we talk about. First movement, final movement. The biggest thing for me in coaching hitting over the years and watching the best hitters that I've ever had, the big league guys, you look at the back shoulder. Okay, Stan Musial, and again, there's a lot of funky stuff here, but look at the very first movement of the back shoulder. When you see the guys that take their swing and that back shoulder moves directly forward, the very first thing that happens, they're going to be really efficient with their swing, all right? And so for me, again, as far as some terms that go, and I love the picture of Ted Williams on the bottom here. David referenced this as well. But I tell young kids this all the time. When they slow down a home run in Major League Baseball, they always show you the video. I said, look at their lower half. What you're going to see almost every single time is the back foot does come off the ground. Comes off the ground. They're generating so much force into their front foot that their back foot comes off the ground because of all their hip action and all those things that happen. Okay, so again, for me, I'll talk a little bit more about this, but the hips get out of the way. You do firm up your front side. Again, nothing earth-shattering here. This is great. 2 hitting talks back to back, a lot of different information, but at the same time, exactly the same. All right. So again, that shoulder, the hip, and the knee, they need to move forward into the picture. So first movement is a big one, and then final movement is firming up that front side. Okay, path of the hands. It's my opinion that the best term that I use a lot when I start talking about hitting is I'll just grab a bat. And I'll tell our guys, again, it doesn't matter how old they are, college guys or youth, say, hey, what are you trying to do? What part of the bat you want to hit the ball with? And they all know. You got to hit it with the barrel, right? You got to hit the ball with the barrel. And I just tell them, hey, okay, you got to hit it with the barrel. That makes sense. The best chance you have, again, this was referenced earlier, is to keep the barrel in the strike zone as long as you can. The longer your bat's in the strike zone, being on plane, all those kind of terms, the better chance you have of being successful. You got an ugly swing, but your bat stays in the strike zone for a long time, don't mess with that swing. Those are the really good hitters, the guys that stay in the zone a long time. Okay, so for me, path of the hands is huge, and I always go right back to this. The barrel's going forward. Where do you hold on to the bat? It's down here at the handle. It's doing the same thing. It has to work forward. The worst hitters are the ones where the barrel comes out of the zone and the hands come out of the zone too early. So we have guys that rotate a little bit too much with their hands. So when they swing the bat, they come around the ball. It's like their hands are connected to their body. I want the hands to work forward towards the pitcher. It's just a really simple term we use with our guys. And again, it gives you a visual of where those hands are going. Jeez. All right, so lines on the ground are great. So if I'm using the stage here as an example, what we do a lot is we put our guys over the top of a line when they're in their stance. I love to do a lot of stuff without a bat in their hands. It's great. It's amazing how it goes. You're having somebody hit, and they put a bat in their hands, and they're a hitter, and all of a sudden you take the bat out of the hands, and they're just kind of standing there. They're athletic. Their posture's good. You put a bat back in their hands, and they think they got to do something different when they hit. So you take a bat out of their hands, get them to move well, and then the swing starts to become easier because their body's getting used to moving better. So anyways, we do a lot of stuff with lines where we want to work. The first movement, I want to get, and I'll show you guys this a little bit. We do a 3-part bottom arm drill, but we want that first movement of the elbow just slightly to move forward, all right? And my hands can't go over the top of the line. That's a long swing, right? We want to work inside the ball. We always know that terms with our hands, but I want to stay inside the line. As my elbow gets out of the way, my hand stays inside the line, and then I'm just working forward with my hands. So this has been a great drill for me to get our guys the feeling of hand path. And this is, again, to me, if you don't take anything out of this talk, I think it's the single biggest thing that we've done when I do camps all the way up to college guys. I have a lot of college guys on our team. Every single time they come into our indoor facility, this is their lead-up drill. They just get a feel for staying inside the ball and path of hands, okay? So a couple other terms. Hands in front of the barrel, right? Makes sense. You want to make sure that your hands stay in front of the barrel, and we don't want the barrel to get outside of your hands too early because then you're just going to rotate around because when the barrel gets in front, it's going to just keep going, right? Hands stay in front of the barrel. You can control that barrel longer, and the barrel above the hands, okay? Barrel gets down too early. This is the heaviest part of the bat. It's just going to keep going. You're going to have a poor swing. And then again, I thought David did a great job of talking about separation in the swing. So when your foot hits the ground, you have separation, right? Upper, lower separation. There's a lot of stuff you can do with that. And then for me, a really big one is extension. Okay, again, the best hitters are the guys that keep the bat in the zone a long time. So when they get to contact, all right, they're in this position, and we want to think about extending the hands through contact. Again, path of bat towards the pitcher. Does that actually happen in the swing? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But that's what we teach. I want to tell our guys, you go to contact, and I want to see separation between your belly button and your hands. It's a big one for me. I really want to see that with our guys. And now they're thinking about staying in the strike zone. Again, this does not happen when you hit, right? Your hands are going to start working around. But again, those are some things I want to try to talk about with our guys just to give them that concept. Okay, backside. To me, this is the biggest thing for me, where the power comes from. Path of the hands as far as being a consistent hitter is really important. What we do is we cut the body in half, all right? So picture I'm a left-handed hitter. This is my front side. This is my backside. I talk a ton about backside. Backside is really, really important in the swing, in my opinion. I say the backside does all the work. The front side's along for the ride. Backside does all the work. Front side's along for the ride, okay? So for me, again, squish the bug was the term we used. I hate it. Can't stand it. Because all that happens when you squish the bug is you just spin in a circle, your hands will follow your body. You don't get any extension, you don't have good path of the hands. The reason that everybody started talking about squishing the bug years ago is because you got the little guys to use their legs. They rotated, which is great. But again, for me, why wouldn't you use a different term that makes sense to me? Now, I want their heel to go to the sky. What's really important with the backside, again, that back knee, we want to have positive movement. You can see it in Ted Williams here. You can see it in Carpenter. That first movement with the knee moves forward towards the pitcher. All right? A really simple term is tell your guys, just stand there. Again, take the bat out of their hand. Just stand there and say, hey, I want to see you rotate your back knee without the bottom of your shoe touching the ground. It's really easy to do. It's a piece of cake. I'll put them in front of a mirror and they can see it. This is an easy thing to do. What you're going to see a lot, and this is really important, a coaching cue, don't let them push the chest forward. Because I think David talked about that this morning too. Don't push the chest forward when they do it. Now they're still staying behind the ball. They're rotating the hips. And they're getting off their backside. Again, if you see it in full speed, the guys that are really powerful, this is what's happening. Hips get out of the way. We'll start working forward. Okay? All right, finish. I don't know if I've ever, to be honest, heard anyone talk hitting and talk about finish. I do a lot of finish stuff with our players because what you see a lot in the swing is you see some bad bat path, bad angle, you see a lot of slicing through the zone, okay? So again, for me, finish, if I can grab the camera, for me, the finish is important. So we want to get to contact, and I want our guys to think about staying through the baseball. I want that bat to stay flat longer. Lower the pitches. I understand that you're going to lose your barrel a little bit more, but what we don't want, the worst thing that can happen in a swing is this. As you go through the baseball, and the reason it happens is because everybody swings the bat, and your hands are going to work up, into the air, and behind your body. So what happens is guys want to get here too early. They want to get to this position too early, so they start to come through the zone as the ball makes contact with the bat. And what you'll see is your hitters will do a lot of those duck farts opposite-handed, right? So if I'm a left-handed hitter, the ball kind of flared on the left field line. Right-handed hitter flailed on the right field line. Guys that are good, that ball's leaving their bat and it's driving because they're able to stay through the baseball on that pitch, and the ball stays on their bat longer versus it's just the spin coming off the bat, right? If the bat does this and the hands go up too early, it spins through the bat. So anyways, finish for me is trying to get to a spot, and you'll see the drill, where we work through the ball, and I try to tell our guys, again, this doesn't happen. I want to tell our guys, get your barrel past your body before you go up with your hands, okay? It won't happen, but those are some things we try to practice and we finish. So I do like a high finish, all right? I like a high finish. I want some whip in that swing. I want it to work in this posture as the hands move up. That'll help you elevate the baseball. Once you can just do it right in your chairs. But again, if you're a right-handed hitter, use your right hand. If you're a left-handed hitter, use your left hand. If you take your hand, and I have our college guys do this, I would definitely talk to you about doing it with young guys. And you push, so in terms of, do you swing down? No, you do not. But I want everybody to understand this concept. If you take your hand and just keep pushing forward, not any certain direction, but forward with your top hand, and just keep pushing. Keep pushing, but don't allow your body to move. Keep pushing. Where does your hand go? Goes up, okay? So you don't need to swing up. You don't need to try to launch the baseball. Your body does it on its own. And what I will tell you is this. When the ball, those balls that get elevated, they're the balls that you hit further out front of the plate because your swing is naturally, as you push your hands forward, going to start to work up. So what I think is really important is you have to get your hitters to understand that they don't need to try to launch the ball. Just keep working forward with their hands and their backside, and the ball's going to launch on its own. All they have to do is, those home runs, the balls that take off, they hit it further in front of the plate. That's it. That's how you launch the baseball, in my opinion. And there's some other things that go into that. I get that. But again, then you have better backside when they go. Again, you see Pujols here. Put that slide back up. You see Pujols. This is a bad swing. His hands get up in the air too early. He kind of gets onto his backside a little bit too much. And you see he kind of slices through the ball a little bit and loses his barrel too early. All right, so I got a whole bunch of drills here we're going to kind of go through. Again, three-part bottom arm drill is a really big movement pattern for me. All right, and you'll see this from both angles as they play through. Again, the cue for me, you move the front elbow just a little bit forward. The second movement, the elbow gets out of the way. It's going to move to the side of the body. And then the third movement, you just punch the baseball, okay? Elbow moves forward just a little bit. Elbow moves forward just a little bit. The second movement, it's going to move out of the way on the side of the body. And the third movement, it's going to punch towards the pitcher. Okay, it's really simple. Here's what's really important to me. I'm a huge believer in this on the teaching side of things. Again, this doesn't happen in the swing, but I want our guys to relax that front shoulder. The worst swings out there are the guys that are front shoulder dominant and it elevates too early. Again, they see that very first movement when they start swinging, and the shoulder goes up and the back shoulder doesn't take that positive movement, all right? Like I said, that's not what mechanically happens in the swing, but that's when we're training and teaching. We want our guys to think about more like you're just going to carry the shoulders forward, all right? Again, that isn't what goes on. A higher pitch, you're going to see more of this movement and a relaxed front shoulder. Lower pitch, your shoulder's going to elevate a little bit more. But the point is try to get your guys to relax that front shoulder when they're doing this movement pattern. I think it helps out a ton. This is maybe my favorite drill that we've started doing a few years ago. What you're doing here is you're really, really simplifying the swing. Really simplifying the swing. So we call this a front side drill. So the first one would be on the left is a firm front side. This is how we started it. You just take your front foot, you open it up like you would be at contact, And I tell our guys, eliminate any rhythm in your swing because rhythm's going to take you back to your bad habits. Eliminate rhythm. So I don't want any movement. I don't want any load. And I didn't do a great job here. I've actually got some rhythm in what I'm doing. Sorry, you got to look at me swinging, by the way. But so I want to get rid of rhythm. And what I tell our players is this: how simple can you make your body move? Okay, how simple can you make your body move? Because all you're trying to do is go back hip to front hip, back shoulder to front shoulder. That's it. All right? The hips need to get out of the way. Can I get the camera on me and we'll go back to that slide? But the biggest thing you're going to see with your guys is when they start to swing, you see this movement. If that front hip goes forward, they're never going to be able to hit successfully. There's too much going on. The hips get in front of the shoulders. There's disconnection in your swing. It doesn't work very well. So again, it's just really simply, if I'm standing here, I do this with guys a lot. I'll grab their hips. I'm like, start swinging. And I just want them to rotate. I'm physically going to pull their front hip backwards. All right? But I got to get that back knee to move forward. Okay, the bad ones that do it this way, they just kind of spin in one place, and they're back to squishing that bug, right? They're not going anywhere with their back knee. We got to get them going somewhere with the back knee. Hips get out of the way, back knee gets going forward. So the other one, if we can go back to the slides, the other one is a soft front side. I had learned on the fly here. I had a 6'5" guy. He looked like Drago in the movie Rocky. Okay, just this big physical guy, should have been playing D-end in football. And he didn't have the flexibility to be able to do the firm front side. What we found out is when we take him and bend his knees and put what we call a soft front side, he's able to rotate his hips so much better. I tried cutting this kid 2 years in a row. True story. Tried cutting him 2 years in a row. Loved our program, loved our team. He's a great kid, maybe a little bit inflated view of his ability. His senior year, he proved me wrong. He had 17 home runs, school record. What do I know, right? But what the kid did is he just kept working at it. I talked yesterday about work ethic in our program. He just kept working at it. He went in, and this was probably his number one drill. He turned that firm front side into a soft front side, and he started to rotate in his hips, and this big, long lever guy simplified everything he was doing. It was pretty cool to see. So I really like that drill. Low T, if you want to just put something out there, Hunter Mentz's talk was awesome. So the difference, what you're getting in a lot of the drill stuff that I'm going to give you here is very mechanic-based to try to fix some things maybe or to simplify. Hunter's was very approach-driven, okay? I think the low T can be both. The low T is almost a non-teach, and I think Hunter had one of these as well and talked about this. If you can put the ball on the tee and get the guys to hit the ball in the air is the key here, to elevate the baseball to the back of the cage on that low tee, their swing's going to be fine. You don't have to worry about anything else. All right, but again, he referenced this. If the swing is bad, don't come up to me for a second again. If the swing is bad and you see that barrel lose too early, the ball's going to go on this part of the bat. Now you got pull side ground balls all day long. So what you're seeing here in these drills as we work back to it is that the barrel needs to stay flat as long as possible. And that's kind of got to be the focus. It's really, really hard to do, but that barrel has to stay flat as long as possible. So you can see in my swing, when I'm swinging at that low pitch, the barrel's pretty flat for a low pitch. You work into your legs a little bit more on low pitches, but you still have to firm up. You still got to firm your leg up. So even though my front knee is bent, it's firm, okay? The bad hitters, when they get into their legs, they keep drifting through their knee. They don't firm up that front side. Again, I know David talked about that earlier. So those are some big things to talk about as far as swing path. So again, this to me is a swing path drill. We're trying to flatten out our bat and stay through that baseball, elevate it to the back of the cage. As a matter of fact, I've taken a step further with our guys. I want them to actually hit this slightly pull side in the cage because what I've found is they can manipulate the drill, and you even saw this yesterday in some of Hunter's videos, that low tee, if you hit it the opposite way, it's easier to keep your barrel in a position off the tee to elevate the baseball. But if you make them pull it a little bit, and I'm saying like a few feet, they have to really stay flat to stay through that baseball on the pull side. And so that's one cue that I would use. All right. Okay, so L drill. As you can see, we do this two different ways as well. I did a terrible job of demonstrating it in the picture on the left. I like to have our guys hold it and control it. Old guy out of shape, not having swung a whole bunch. But we like to keep them up in the air and just hang on to that spot. So literally make it look like an L and form it. So when we do this, another thing I'm not doing great in this video is my chest is coming forward more than I would like. But anyways, we try to keep them centered. That's a term I use with our guys a lot. Stay centered. I don't want your chest to go forward, except for I've got a high T drill I'll show you. But I just want the chest to stay centered. There's even some guys, and I'll grab the camera again for a second. There's some guys that really struggle with this. And so what we'll do, again, they don't know how to do it other than like this. They just don't know how to get the backside to work but still stay behind the baseball. So I'll tell them, hey, I want you to spin in a circle. So they'll do an L drill. Well, they'll swing and they'll spin. And it's going to keep them centered. But it's going to work that backside off the ground. All right? And that's the whole purpose of it. Again, the drill isn't necessarily what we're trying to accomplish as far as swing mechanics go. We're trying to get the backside to do some work. That back hip has got to do some work. So we'll have them swing, and you can go back to the slide for me. Thanks. And get them off the ground. And then the other one, again, I did a terrible job here, to be honest. We'll do a toe drag. And our guys that struggle getting that foot in the air, this is a great one. We've had a lot of success with doing this L drill. It doesn't look like an L drill, but it's a version of it. Again, the whole point is just to get the back foot off the ground and get that back hip to work. So we'll just have them do a toe drag. They just literally drag their toe forward, have them start a little bit wider in their stance, and bring that foot forward. Again, coaching cue for me, after I watch myself, my chest is going forward way too much when I'm doing this, right? So that would be one thing that I would tell myself, hey, figure it out, buddy. All right, and high T, this used to be my favorite drill for years, and we don't do it quite as much. There's certain guys that need it. Okay, so this is a tough one, and a lot of you guys are going to be like, well, no, then you're teaching them to swing down in the baseball. On this drill, absolutely you are. As a matter of fact, I get pissed at them if they don't swing down. Okay, so there's a few different versions of this that we work on. I really like what you see on the left there. This is how we always start this out. I want them to get a feel and a visual. When they swing, I want them to think about hitting the front of the tee. Okay, the front part of that tee. I want the bat to go through that. And again, what this is I'm training, if you just look at my back shoulder in these swings, that back shoulder has immediate movement directly forward to the pitcher. And you have a lot of guys that do not have the ability to do that when they hit. So once again, I'll say this for I don't know how many times in this talk, this is not what happens in the swing. This is a drill to overcompensate a flaw or an issue. And we've seen a ton of success with this. Ton of success. Where they're trying to drive the baseball, I want it to stay tee height or so. Instead of they're going to hit this up into the cage a lot because they'll lose their backside. Their front shoulder will elevate a little bit too early. And then obviously you can see with the baseball on the tee. But again, just kind of movement patterns that you're trying to accomplish. And so for me, this would be a drill where I tell them, hey, I want the chest to move forward. I want you to get through that baseball. That's your only focus. Another couple things that we do, and I'll take the camera again. I don't know why I didn't put this in any drill sequences. Because again, it's something we do every year with our college guys. When I go do a hitting camp with little guys, the first thing I do every time we do a hitting camp, I show them that bottom arm drill. And then the other thing I do is I just have them get into a punch position. And I'll throw tennis balls, and I want them to punch it forward. That's it. And again, the focus is trying to get good movement patterns with that back shoulder. Right? It's amazing. This is your swing. That's your swing. They can do that all day long. They grab a bat in their hands. Every kid grabs a bat after they do the drill, and they look really good doing it. They fall backwards. They lose the front shoulder. They don't get anything going with the backside, and they've got some issues with it. So I think that's a great one, using that tennis ball drill. The other thing I do, and it works really well if they're a right-handed thrower, right-handed hitter, or left-handed thrower, left-handed hitter. I couldn't do it left-handed because I'm not coordinated enough lefted. I'm a right throw and left bat. But the guys they'll figure this out in a real big hurry. Again, take the bat away from them, have this high tee set up, have them grab a baseball. Okay, now you're a pitcher, you're a thrower. I want you to throw the ball 3/4 of the way to the cage on a downhill angle. And you're going to see every guy, this is easy. Their hips release, their shoulders stay in this posture, their front side just gets out of the way, their back side does all the work. Okay, it's amazing. Throwing mechanics, hitting mechanics are very, very similar. All right, you're getting them to work with their body and move efficiently. And they can do that. Every guy can. And then grab a bat, and their swings are going to get better. The other thing we'll do is put the ball in the tee and get it as high as we can, and we'll move them right next to that tee. All right? And when they're standing next to the tee, as a lefty, I tell them, all right, Get in your legs a little bit. Let's knock the ball off the tee with your back shoulder. So there's another visual as a focus. They're just knocking that ball off the tee. Staying centered, knocking the ball off the tee, just having that kind of as our focal point. Okay, so this one, not very many guys in our program can do this. I'm 41 years old, I've been swinging for a long time. I can manipulate my hands as well as anybody. I know my swing really well because I've been doing it for so many years. As you can see, my bat right now, my hands are outside of the baseball. Okay, again, this is not where we want our guys to hit this ball in a game. This is a pull side, drive the gap kind of pitch. But for the purpose of trying to focus on staying inside the baseball and work your hands inside the ball, this is an awesome, awesome drill. Because you will see your guys struggle with this time and time again. They're going to keep hitting it pull side. All right, so again, they have to be able to pull their hands inside the ball, stay inside of it, and get the ball to work the middle of the cage. Okay, so I tell them every time, I don't warm up. I get in there, I know I can do this. And I'll stand right on the tee, and I'll tell them to stand behind me. And this is every fall, we do it with our young guys. And I'll say, okay, look at where my hands are in relation to the tee. Right? Yeah, coach, okay. So if I can grab the camera again. So I'll say, you see where my hands are, it's already outside the tee. So what has to happen is I got to work inside the baseball with my hands. All right, what will happen in the swing that has some actual efficient points that I will tell them and what will happen in a game is when your hands get past your front hip, they're going to move out of the way. Okay, they're going to work around your body. They're going to move out of the way. But what's really important, the good hitters have the ability to keep working forward again. They're going to get back to that extension phase. The bad hitters, they just keep following their body and they're done with their swing. So now their bat went from here to here in a big hurry and they didn't stay in the zone. So I think this is a great drill, not to use a lot, but early on in the offseason, for me, it helps us really train that bat path, to keep them inside the ball, get the hands out of the way, and move it forward. And if you watch them swing, this is another really great coaching cue that I would suggest, is if you get the guy that goes in there and he's doing all his drills and the swing speed is the same every single time, he's never going to make an adjustment. I shouldn't say never, but it's going to take a lot longer. But if you slow him down and get him to start to feel what happens, I'm like, hey, the bat doesn't swing here. You swing the bat. You move your body. You move your hands. And it's amazing what will happen. Okay, the ball's on the tee, and I'll just say, hey, move slower. And every one of your guys can do this. They'll move to contact where they can put the barrel on the baseball. They can do it. Even though their toes are on the tee and their hands start outside the ball, they can move to a position to get there. And so then we'll just say, okay, go a little bit faster, but not much. Right? There's their swing. They're able to get it up the middle, and we kind of start progressing from there. So anyways, not to spend too much time on that one, but I think it's a really good way to get them to work inside the baseball. And I got a couple left here this morning. Elevated backside for me, I talked about this earlier, the load stride process of working forward a little bit more. Ooh. It's all right. I can certainly do it too. But the whole point of it is to get yourself to a position where you're did the presentation kill? I'm shocked we've made it all the way this far without it killing. The whole point of this is that if you have something elevated, your back foot's off the ground, and you lift up your front foot, your body's going to move forward without even trying. It's a great field drill. They're going to notice it right away. So we have them do, on the left, I'm doing it with just kind of a regular stride for me. And again, for me, I felt this. I haven't hit in a long time when I put this video together. Man, I stayed centered really well. I stayed behind the baseball. I wasn't drifting out. It felt really good doing this drill. It kept me in a good posture, good position with that elevated backside. The clip on the right, we call that our Kirby Puckett drill. It's kind of funny how things have changed in coaching. Most of our guys, like, they don't even know who the heck Kirby Puckett is. Like, are you kidding me? I'm a Twins fan. Loved Kirby, right? Got a chance to meet him when I was playing college baseball at one of the Minnesota Twins caravans. But again, Kirby Puckett, leg kick guy, but he stayed centered, that little short, squatty little twerp, and he would just juice baseballs. So just getting them a feel for a little bit exaggerated movement with their backside. And I can't remember, was that my last one? Oh, no, I got two more left. So bat stops. Again, bat stops for me are getting to contact. It might look like I'm probably a little bit too downhill here, which I don't like. But again, we're trying to get them to a flat bat. If you've heard the term palm up and palm down, Tony Gwynn talked about that a ton. Palm up and palm down at contact, right? So your bottom hand is palm down, Top hand is palm up at contact. Really simple thing, but your bat barrel is going to get into a good position, all right? And we don't want to have an angle when we do it. We want palm up, palm down. You open your hands up, and they're flat towards that baseball. Again, this is a higher pitch. It's easier to do it. If it's a lower pitch, you have to lose the barrel just a little bit, okay? So palm up, palm down at contact, and then this is my last one, Dirk, and I get out of here. But again, this is a finish drill. This is a backspin bat, by the way. I love using this bat. It forces our guys to work on getting the barrel through and underneath the baseball because they can actually see it, that it's flat. But again, I don't do a great job here because my chest goes forward way more than I want. But the point is, we're just trying to get them to work through the baseball, and we do this a lot. We're trying to stay through the baseball with their hands, hang on to the barrel, don't let it wrap around your body, and push towards the pitcher. All right? So I think, again, just training the finish helps them stay on plane longer, and it eliminates that situation where they slice through the baseball. All right? So really appreciate my time here, guys, and it's been a great time other than last night in Toronto. Met a lot of good people. Dirk did a great job putting together some wonderful coaches here. I learned a ton as well. I'm happy to share any information I've given you over the weekend, and feel free to reach out. Thanks, guys.